What's up, everyone? It's Matt Mrozik, and this will be work in progress number 2 on the Gravin Labs Hulk and Stan Lee. So hopefully with this work in progress we'll get Hulk wrapped up. What I have left to do on him is the nails, like his nails, and like finishing up his portrait. So I'm going to start with the nails first, and we'll try to not make this a 3-hour work in progress. It might be though, who knows, we'll see. So what I'm going to start off with first is I'm going to base coat everything, and I tend to start with I'm going to make this kind of like a dirty bone, kind of a dirty nail looking color. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with the base coat of this highlight skin. I'm almost out of this. I'd use the GarageKits.us, but it's really thin because it's made for airbrushing and it doesn't cover very well for hand brushing. So we're going to start off with this. And I like this because it's a pale, it's kind of an off-white color. So we're going to do that. I went and bought myself a bunch of new cheap brushes from Hobby Lobby. And I need to get myself some Q-tips here in case I get a little paint somewhere where I don't want paint. And a little water. So I got some water here, just in a cup for cleanup, and some Q-tips. And we're gonna base coat these guys. I won't do them all on camera because this will, it's a fairly lengthy process. Now these have been sealed really good and have had plenty of time to cure, so if I do get some of this paint somewhere else, it simply comes off. Here's a really good shot here of this leg. Man, you can see all that hard work that went into all that noodling and stuff. Man, this looks like amazingly like blood vessels under the skin. It's so much work, but in the end it's so much worth it. It looks fucking awesome. It looks really good. I impress myself sometimes, not very often. So I'm just gonna take this straight. I got myself a small brush, and I'm gonna start base coating these guys. Man, they're gonna look really bright and white at first, but we're gonna dirty them up towards the end. And in this case, I want brush strokes. I want the brush strokes to come this way, because you know, your nails are basically cartilage or bone growing out, and it goes this way. So I want the brush strokes in there to give me a little texture, because right now they're perfectly smooth and nails aren't perfectly smooth. And with those brush strokes in there, it'll give me a little bit of texture, and when I'm going to do my washes and stuff, it'll help give the illusion that these are real nails growing out. And so like I just have a Q-tip here, and just go and clean up any little mess ups on the edges. So when I do these, I put the paint on fairly thick, and I let the brush strokes just kind of happen. And I'll get the little ridges that simulate the texture of nails just from the brush strokes. So they're going to be really bright at first, and then we're going to go dirty them up towards at the end. There's one. So again, I won't show all of this on camera, because especially the base coating, because it's pretty repetitive. I kind of outline it first, and then bring the brush this way. Zoom in a little bit. Just bring the brush down like this. purposely not smoothing it out, leaving the brush strokes in there. Just kind of put it on a little thick, and I'll get those little ridges. Like if you look at your fingernails, they got ridges and they're coming out of your nail bed. So that's what we're going to try to simulate here with the brush strokes in the paint. But I do want to cover up the green. I don't want the green showing through. So I'll base coat one foot on camera, then I'll do the other foot and hand off camera. Just kind of outline it first to get my shape. Come back in and put it on. It's also the same color that I used to base coat eyes. It's a nice off-white. It's not too bright. It's got a little pink in it. It's considered a very, very light skin tone. So you can see I still see some green on that, so I'm just letting that dry for a minute. Don't worry too much about the edges here. Just go in here and clean it up. There's plenty of sealer on these guys, so just a little bit of water and a Q-tip I can scrub pretty hard, and it's not gonna do anything to the green paint. I have water over there. I'm just using my saliva spit. There's a lot of spit on my pieces. It's very convenient. Same thing here, just gonna outline it. I did go back and look at some of the other photos that people did on their paint-ups of this. So I'm kind of using theirs as a guide on their fingernails and eyes and stuff. Back in a little more to this one, and that's good. Still in frame, I should be. Yep. I zoomed in pretty tight, so I can't tell if I'm in frame or not. I'm gonna wet my brush a little bit. Get my outline. Just going here, just using this small brush, just kind of putting it on thick. Dry for a second. I'll come back and hit this one again. I'm going to come back through here and clean up these edges a little bit. Now these other ones should have time to dry. And I like to use toothpicks a lot. I bite the tip off, and then I wet the tip. And so I bit this tip off, and then I wet it, and then it's like a nice little scrubber. And I get in really tight and make a really clean edge. So I'm not using a sharp toothpick. I'm using kind of a bit off tip, and it's like a little wooden scrubber. Get a little damp with some saliva or water, and then go in there and just clean up the edges really nicely. Put too much paint out here, it's going to dry up pretty quick, so that adds a little water to it. If you notice as this dries, it's not really bright white. It's got a nice color to it. Alright. Toothpick. Actually, the edge needs to be done a little bit more. Right. And there's my little toothpick scraper. Clean it up. Just like that. So again, making a real nice edge. I'm going to go and clean up. It doesn't smear. Like if you use a Q-tip, it'll smear the paint typically, but this kind of cleans up the edge really nicely. Okay, so just like that. Alright, so those have been base coated. And cleans up a little bit more. Oops, I went a little too far there. Come back and touch it up. Okay. I should just wait till the end to clean them up because I tend to mess it up as I go. takes get 2 or 3 coats of paint to get it the way I want. All right. That looks pretty good. All right, so we're gonna do this to the other foot and the nails on the hand, and then we'll seal it, and then we'll do the next step. That's the first step, just base coating. All right, so I got the nails base coated. This is gonna be kind of a wonky angle for this part, but it is what it is because I'm working in my lap. So since I got this color out, I'm gonna go ahead and base coat the eyes, and they'll get a lot more treatment, but this was to get the base coat down. And it's the same thing, the same color, this kind of very light skin tone. And I'm gonna try to get a different brush, something a little bit longer. So we clean this one out. And then I'll seal, I already sealed the, sorry, I gotta get, there we go. When I do eyes, I like to get a kind of a long lining brush and get into the corners easier. And this I'm gonna thin out a little bit. Again, I've got this highlight skin color here. Again, it's the same process as the nails, but we want it smooth. So, get some better light in there. And I think you can see what I'm doing. A second. Try to get this on in frame. There. Let's see if that works. Okay. And I got a towel here against the edge of my desk because I got Hulk leaning against the edge of my desk. And I like the lining brush, kind of get way down in the corner. Pretty easy. And we get an optimizer on, which I don't normally use, but and I'm not too worried about a little mess up on the outside. I'll get my little toothpick tool and clean that up. Just like that. There's a coat on that eye. Probably take 2 or 3 cuts of this. I'm gonna thin it out pretty good so it goes on smooth. But you can see I get that lining brush way up in the corner there. Relatively easy. It's kind of a weird angle. I would normally turn him a different way, but since I'm trying to show this on camera. Just like that. And then get it clean. Q-tips, it's kind of dirty. A little bit of dry spray underneath the eyelid there. So I got some buzzing I gotta get rid of. There we go. Take that. And then we'll do another coat on this eye. And I wasn't paying attention, I just got paint all over his cheek. You see I got that pretty watered down, and it's going to let it flow into the eye. Clean up that edge here in a little bit, but and there we go. It's looking pretty good. And I got a little bit on that lower eyelid, but that'll get a waterline of dark green anyway, so it's okay. So that's pretty good there on that eye. Uh-oh. 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 My towel got caught on his hair. I just dumped water on the towel, so now I need to flip this towel over before I use it again. So I don't want to get white all over him. I'm gonna flip it so I can try to get into this eye a little bit better. This angle is a little wonky, but this is kind of where I gotta be to get in there. Okay, so that's pretty good for the base coat. And then we'll clean up the edge once this all dries. Like right in there, I'll clean up that edge. I'll clean up that edge a little bit, but that's the base coat for the eyes. So we're gonna let this all dry, and then we're gonna seal this, and then we'll continue on with the fingernails. Okay, so now we're going to continue with the fingernails. Kind of see what I've done here on the next step here. Hopefully that's showing up. So as I took some of GarageKits.us aged bone, like this right here. I got on my palette right here. It's off to the side here, it's hard to see. Let me get back over the bench here. Alright, so I got a little bit of aged bone right here. I got my same brush I had before. I'm taking most of it off the brush. I don't want a whole lot on there. And I paint it right on top. Again, kind of keep my brush strokes going in this direction. And I got a Q-tip close by because this stuff, once it dries on, it's hard to get off. And we're going to change the tone a little bit once we get this on. I'm kind of just putting it on just right on top of that white I laid down earlier. And then I'm letting it dry just for a second, and I'm kind of just real lightly just kind of wiping some of it off. Kind of like this. So I don't want to let it dry too long because this stuff is hard to get off once it dries. So now we kind of see that white underneath it. Just like that. And then we're going to once we get this done, we're going to do a wash. We're going to seal it again and do a wash on it to shift the colors. You can see from the previous step, you can see the shape of the brush strokes because we did this, right? Remember, we did this, and so it's kind of settling in. This color is kind of settling into those cracks. We're just real lightly. Very slightly damp Q-tip. Take some of this off. I got a little too much right here, so we're going to put some more back on. Dry for a second. A little too much on this one. Take some of it off. I'm not trying to cover all the white because I want to see some of it through. I just want to kind of get a different tone on top. For another layer. Okay. Come back here. Like that. Okay. So you see some texture in the nail. Pretty good. So again, I'll just do this one on camera. We'll do the other ones, and then we'll seal it, and then we'll do kind of maybe a brownish wash over it to make them even look a little dirtier. Pretty good. Okay. Let's try this. What the hell? You gotta come out. Do that again. Not happy with those results, so we're gonna try it again. It's not to be perfect again. These are fingernails, supposed to be dirty and kind of gross looking, especially for Hulk. Just need to let that dry for a second. So I think the next step after we seal this, we'll really tie it all together. I'm going to add kind of a brown wash to it, and I'll tie it all together and get in the cuticles and stuff. So that's the next step on the nails. We'll do that on the rest of them, and then we'll come back. Okay, so now the next step on the fingernails, I was going to do a wash, but I think I'm going to use some pigments instead. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix up, because I don't have a dark green, so I'm going to mix up some big pigments. I've got, this is zombie green, which is actually quite bright, as you can see here, which I don't want, and I've got some graveyard dirt. So I'm going to mix this up into my own little kind of concoction here, because I don't want just brown, I want to add some green to it. I'm going to use this to go around the cuticles. And I've got a really short, kind of stiff brush. I've got a set of brushes I use strictly for pigments. So I kind of got this dark green thing going on here. This is way more than enough. And I'm going to keep this there's something wet in there. My brush kind of got messed up a little bit. Let's see, I got another short little brush. I got a little set of brushes here used for pigments only. That shouldn't be in there. It's not a pigment brush. That's trash. I'll use this guy right here. I like a little short stubby guy because I can kind of rub it in there and get it to stick really well. So pigments get everywhere. They're super, super messy. I'm going to keep the graveyard dirt out because I may go over it a little bit more with that. Just add a little more brown. It's actually one of my favorite pigment colors is the graveyard dirt. I use it for just about all sorts of stuff. Okay, so I'm going to keep this out over here. I'm going to change my gloves since I've been working with these. I'm going to get one of the legs. It's over here. 1 second. So between each step, I've been sealing it with Krylon matte spray, and then by the time I get done with another step, this has been dried enough to come in and do this step. So yeah, so Krylon matte spray between each step to protect the previous step. Now my hands are kind of sweaty, so the glove's not gonna go on real tight, which I'm not a fan of. I like it, but it's fine, just so I don't get fingerprints. So now we're gonna do, come in tighter again. And take this little mix that I got here. I'm gonna come around. That's why I want that little stiff brush, because I can really push it down in there. Where'd that go? Just tones it down a little bit. Let's see, do I have another short, a new one I can use? I'm gonna go over the whole nail. I really want to kind of get it into the cuticles and stuff. That's showing up. So pigments really need a flat surface, and this is more, right now it's kind of more of a satin finish, so I may come back and do a wash after this. Come back on some of this graveyard dirt and see what happens. I want to get some up on the skin too. Here we go. Now we're starting to work. See, we gotta get up on the skin too to kind of blend it in, so it's not so stark. Some underneath the nail. There we go. Now we're getting the effect I want. Sometimes it takes a little work. Get a soft brush here and kind of. So that's kind of what we're going for right there. I gotta be able to push it on sometimes to get to stick. And let's do this foot, and then we'll do the other ones off camera. Sound like something. Pigments are super messy, they get everywhere. So it's looking pretty good, I think. And let's go back over the nail too a little bit, darken them down, but I don't want the nails to be green, I just want a little touch of green to them. Alright, I think that looks pretty good. So we're going to seal that and we're going to do that to the other ones. After I sealed them, I lost some of the pigment, so what I did is I went back in with just some of the graveyard dirt and just hit around the upper edge and stuff, around the edges a little bit more, and then seal it again, and now I got the look I want. So that's what the nails look like when they're done. So those look pretty nasty to me. I like them, and they blend well with the color of the skin, so I think those are looking good. So I think what I'll do next, I'm going to base coat the hair next. So I'll do a little bit of that on camera because again it's just putting down black. So I'll do the hair next and we'll go from there. So the nails are done. Okay, so next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to base coat the hair in black, and this will take me quite a while because I got to handle this big guy. Sorry about the angle, it's going to be all kind of wonky again. So I got to kind of handle this big guy. So what I have in my palette, I've got to have some Liquitex Heavy Body acrylic black, and I've got some water mixed in it. I'm going to use my lining brush again. So I can, I'm not going to do this all on camera. This will take, just to do the outline, just to get this hair base coat will take me probably an hour or so, because they have to be careful and outline it first. So just going there real slowly. And outline it first. So the trick with acrylics is that you can't water, you can water them down, but you can't water them too down, because then you get, then it just beads. So you gotta make sure you got it, you know, not too much water in it, otherwise it'll just bead up on you. So it's gonna be a weird angle on the video, sorry, but You gotta be able to tilt them upside down and move them around and all that fun stuff. I'm not gonna base coat the whole head and with this brush, obviously. I'm just using this to outline it. But a lining brush is nice because you can be quite a ways from what you're painting, and I find it much easier to control the bristles. So anyway, I think you get the idea. This is going to take a very long time to do. It always takes me a long time to base coat hair. So I got to get around the ears. It's just a matter of maneuvering. It's one thing when you're just working with the head, but when you're working with a big thing like this, it's really hard to do it. I'm handling a 30-pound piece of resin. Maybe 25 on this guy since I don't have the legs, but they're just big. I gotta flip them upside down and turn them around to get all the little areas. See, I can have my brush way back here and get up underneath the ear pretty easily. Started using this heavy body acrylic a little while ago. I really like it. It's got a lot of pigment in it. It covers very well. And you can get a small tube like this is like, even at full price, is like $9 as opposed to like one of those little things of a Vallejo like this, which is like half that price, $3 or $4. So I'm gonna keep stocking up and getting more colors of that because I really like it. With proper thinning, it goes on super smooth. Alright, so I'm just going to keep doing this until I get it done. I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. Okay, so I got the hair all base coated. It looks really good. Just kind of what I would do is I would seal this, and I would do a few dry brushes of some dark green just to give it some shape. I was looking at some of the one that sold it. He did a brown highlight, so I've got a message to Marcus. He's sleeping right now because he's on the other side of the world. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and place the eyes in, and as I say before, I cheat. I use decals because I suck at painting eyes. One day I will sit down and I will just plug it out and learn how to do it, but I need to do that on my own time and my own projects just so I can work it out. I did paint some eyes pretty successfully when I was taking a painting class at Wonderfest. I was pretty proud of them. Didn't get them all the way down, but for the most part, I was really happy with what I got. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get reset, and then I'll show you how to do that. What we're going to do is, I'll try to get this on camera. Let's see. Hold on. Let's see. I'm trying to get this. Sorry. Someday I'm going to invest in a boom mic and a camera setup and all that stuff to do this better, but you know, not right now. That's what I'm going to do. So decals. Got some nice green decals here. I use the darkest green I got, which are going to be these guys, and these are quarter scale, so they'll fit in there perfectly. And so what we're going to do first is cut these guys out. So let me slide him over. That hair is still drying a little bit, so first thing we need is a nice sharp razor blade, which I got right here. Just get a little closer. So if you ever used these before, the way they tell you to do it is to cut the shape of the eyeball first, which I don't do that because I like to get the eye in there position and then I trim it after it's dried. So I'm going to use these guys right here, and we're going to cut them out as close as we can to the edge, so we don't have too much of the film around it. Just like that. Okay. And now we're going to cut these out. Like that, real close to the edge. That. Now these guys are really thin, which is a great thing and a bad thing. They're great because they're really thin and they really disappear really well once you clear coat them and seal them. It makes them really fragile. So just like that. Let's get this out of the way. Alright, now what we're going to do is I got a little bit of water here. Let me get set back up again so I'm in position to do this. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second, guys. I got to kind of get set back up. Move my decals to the side. Move my water to the side. Put this towel on the edge of the table. Some light on them. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up one of these decals just by the corner. So I can trim them up a little tighter. Give me 1 second. One second, guys. Okay. Sorry, I dropped one of them. Give me a second, I dropped it. Sorry, I know my arm's in the way, but I gotta get situated here. There we go. Okay, so I pick up the decal like this with my X-Acto knife, and I got a little bit just plain water here, and just need to stick it in there here. Stick it in the water just for a few seconds because these are really thin, and it'll release from the paper fairly quick. Now these eyes have been already base coated and sealed earlier. And then I get one of these little, I get a toothpick and one of these little Q-tips. I get some water on the Q-tip. And then I may have to paint these in. These are too small. Oh, yay for me, because I suck at painting eyes. Yeah, those are way too small. And these are quarter scale, so let's see. Alrighty, so I guess I'm going to try to paint some eyes in, because it looks really, really too small. It's tiny. Yeah. Alrighty, so I probably won't do that on camera because, again, I suck at painting eyes and this will take me a very long time to do. Are these any bigger? I don't think so. Okay, that was a little bit bigger. Let me see what this one looks like. 1 second. Those may be the wrong size. I think I have some right here. Hold on. One second. I'm going to pause and be right back. Alright, I'm going to put this one and see if it's any better. It's a little bit bigger than the previous one. Let's see what it looks like. Let's see. Here's my little Q-tip. What I may do is use a decal and then use it to get placement, and then paint over them as a stencil. I think I may do that because these are still too small, but I can use it as a stencil. So I'm going to have him looking up a little bit. Right there. And then what I do is I roll the excess water out. So I usually get one where I want it, and then I set it, and then I do the other one. Another thing about these decals, until you set them, they move around super easy. And what I use for setting solution is just some microsol and a clean brush. This will get the decal to sit down and kind of melt. I think what I can do is just paint a black line around these and they'll probably be big enough. Let me do that. So there's one. Just like that. So we're going to let that sit and dry up, and then we're going to do the other one. And then once these are dry, I go in and I trim the excess decal off the eyelid. So once I get these in, I'll seal them, and then I'll draw a black line around them. That should get them nice and big. And then we'll go from there. Okay, so that's microsol's dried for a little bit. I got both eyes put in. So now what I do, like I mentioned before, I just kind of come in here and real lightly. You may not be able to see it. I'm just taking this new blade and just scoring the top of the decal that overlaps the eyelid. And I'm just trimming it, and then I take off the excess with a toothpick. Just like that. So now the eyes are the right shape. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to seal this with some clear acrylic. Let's see. I think it's over here. Somewhere. Hold on. So I'm just going to use some MIG gloss varnish to seal the decal. And this is not the final step. This is just so the decal doesn't get damaged by the next steps. So we're going to take some of that. Just got a little drop right here in my palette. And I'm just going to seal this decal in. Just like that. I put a pretty good layer on. It looks milky at first, but it dries clear. Alright, so we'll let that dry for a little while. Take up some of this excess. Just soaking up some of the excess clear varnish that's kind of settled down in the corner of in the eyes. As long as it's over the decal, that's the main goal, because the whites had been sealed earlier. So then once this dries, I'll draw a black line around the eyes, and we should get a nice, should be looking pretty good. And then once that's done, I'll seal it again, and I'm going to put a little red in the corner of the eyes and do an eye line, a water line, and then the eyes should be done. But they're looking pretty good so far. So that's where we are on those. So we're going to let those dry and we'll come back. Alright, so while the varnish dries on those eyes, I'm going to work on the base a little bit. So once I glued Stan all together except for his portrait, because I got to finish that up. But once I did that, because of the Hulk fist, he doesn't go down all the way. So I need to grind out some area here on the base. So I've got him in place. I'm just going to mark out kind of where it needs to be ground out a little bit. It's just right where his knuckle hits, which is kind of right in here. So I'm going to grind this out a little bit. Make a little divot right in there. So I'm going to do that. Let me put Stan to the side. And get my Dremel. Just gotta get everything. My mic refuses to stay clipped right now. Alright, so we're getting the Dremel. I'm gonna get the camera in a different position. And I'm just gonna grind this out a little bit. It's gonna be noisy. We have the vacuum going at the same time. See how that works. Okay. Needs to come forward a little bit. See how that works. Once I get this the way I want, then what I'll do is I'll kind of fix all my grinding with the way it looks with okay, it looks pretty good. He's not touching there now. So what's happening is at this foot, I want to seem to go down all the way. So what I'll do is I'll kind of, I'll put a little Bondo in there. I'll wrap his fist in some saran wrap to kind of get that to fit the way I want. And I am still getting a little bit of a, I guess not sitting down all the way here. So I'm wondering if that's because, let me try something. I think this hole needs to be a little deeper because his foot's still not sitting down all the way. So I'm going to grind that out. I'll do it off camera. Okay, so I went and dug that hole out a little bit deeper, and also I think what was happening is that the peg was bottoming out, so I drilled that hole a little bit deeper. Now he sits flat. Both feet sit flat on the base, and now his fist is down in that crevice that I kind of dug out. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little filler, little glazing putty. So when I dug out when I did the grinding for his fist, I dug out more than I needed. And I gotta find, there it is, 1 second. To do what I want to do next. Get my tools. Need a popsicle stick. Right here. Okay. First thing we're going to do is we're going to wrap this Hulk fist in some saran wrap. Protect it. I'm doing this off camera over here. Okay, we'll do 2 layers. It shouldn't get too hot because I'm not going to mix much up. You gotta be careful when you do this technique, because if you do this and then you use a lot of body filler, it'll heat up and it'll actually melt the saran wrap to whatever it is you have it on. So that happened to me on the Mad X Hulk. It was fun. I was doing the base. Got some saran wrap around the fist. I'm going to mix up just a little bit of this Evercoat glaze. This stuff is the best right here, the Evercoat. It is expensive, but man, it's for little stuff like this, it's great because it sands super easy. This little thing costs it costs more than a gallon of Bondo, but I don't use it in large quantities, so just use a little bit of time. So mix it up, a little bit of hardener. So when I ground that out, I ground way more than I needed to, but we're going to make this fit really good. I don't have my mic on, sorry. I think you guys have seen me do this before. Mix this up till it's one consistent color. And we're basically going to fill this back in that I ground out. Do that before it starts to set up too much. Just like that. And now I'll put the stand back on the base. And we're just going to leave that there. And that'll fit perfectly to the Hulk fist once that's dried. I'll pull them up. Once that's cured, I'll pull this out. And then I'll trim off the excess. But it'll fit the fist perfectly. So we're going to wait for that to dry. Okay, so it's been about 5 minutes, and if we poke this, it's pretty good. So now if I pull stand out, see I got a perfect formation to his fist. I'm gonna unwrap him, put it back over here in my little staging area. And then while this is still kind of soft, save me from sanding, and take my X-Acto blade and trim it. Just like this. I'll still have to do some sanding, but this will save me quite a bit. And once this is done, I can start painting this space. Just like that. All right. And that's what I got over here. I got some 800. I'll take a little of this. It's a little bit of this right here. I think this is 320. 220, 320. It's all right. I'm just gonna use it to get the there we go. Just sand it down a little bit. So, you know, it gets this little crack right here that was here before. It's going to kind of dig that out and bring it back. There you go. So now we got a little spot for his fist. It's perfect. And Stan is sitting flat. So that took about 20 minutes of work, but well worth the effort to get him to sit where he needs to sit. So now I'm gonna give this a bath. I'm gonna prime it in some black Stano-Res, and then we'll be able to start painting this. Well, I gotta do one other thing first on the other part. First, I'm gonna give everything a bath, and I'll come back. Okay, so the next thing I got to do on the base before I can paint it, I do want to point out one thing, that on this one, I haven't mentioned this to Marcus, but I need to mention it to him. The bottom part of mine came cracked right here, so the casting was a little thin here, so I need to tell him that I went in here, I just basically filled this in with epoxy, 30-minute epoxy, to solidify this edge. So I'm going to send him a message to tell the factory to make sure that they pour the base thick enough, because with putting Hulk on here and lifting him all the time, I did kind of get a little cracking going on right here on the bottom of the prototype. So I guess what I should really do is smooth this out. So I may do that real quick, just so it's a better looking finish. So I'm just going to take some of this sandpaper that I had over here. I'm going to scuff this up a little bit, just so my filler has something to stick to. And I'm going to use some of that Evercoat. I'm going to smooth this out a little bit. It doesn't have to be super pretty because, again, it's the bottom, but just like that. Let me get another piece of cardboard. Cardboard and a spreader. Spreader, cardboard, and the Evercoat. I hadn't planned on doing this, so we're gonna do it real quick. So I'm gonna mix up a little bit more here than I did for the other part, because we're gonna kind of smooth this out a little bit. Again, it doesn't be super perfect, but basically on it right here where there's a little bit of a crack, kind of. And when you mix stuff like this, you want to fold it into itself. Do this, keeps it from getting air bubbles, and just helps mix it evenly. Hopefully, I've got Star Wars playing on in the background. Hopefully YouTube doesn't hear it and flag my video. Alright. I didn't put a whole lot of hardener in here, so this will take a little while to dry, but it's alright. So, yeah, I made salads earlier today for lunch. Okay, well, give me a few minutes, I'll go to the store and get some more. Give me a few minutes once I'm done doing this little part of my video, and I'll go get some more lettuce. Okay, so I'm just gonna spread this on. Again, this is just to make it, this isn't doing anything for functionality. This is just to make it look nicer on the bottom.
So they cut off the tongue of every last man, woman, and child. Do you know what that pack of animals became? Tell them. Born and the rest of the 5 delegates have committed unspeakable crimes of hospitality. Says you. No. Says them. Each of our worlds has been brutalized by the syndicates. Crimson Dawn used their puppets for
Okay. Just like frosting a cake. If I do this good enough, I shouldn't have to do any really sanding.
Thanking my mother for the use before she had survived and still wore them off. To fight back. We're not marauders. We're allies.
Alright. Just like that. And then we're going to paper towel and try to clean up some of this edge before it dries too much. Alright, just like that. And once this dries, I will just kind of hit it real quick, just real lightly with some sandpaper just to get rid of those ridges. But that will just smooth that out a little bit for the bottom. So I'm going to let that cure and I'll come back. Light sanding just to kind of knock down some of the ridges. So it's not pretty, but neither is the rest of the base. So I'm going to go ahead and prime it black anyway. But before I do that, I'm going to silly putty this middle part and the cracks, because the cracks are going to be lit up while the rest of the base is rock colored. So for this middle part, we're just going to get out the silly putty and for the cracks. We're going to go ahead and prime the bottom of this too. Just with some black Stano res. We're going to plug this up. So I'll prime the bottom first, we'll let that dry, and then we'll do the top. But I'm gonna plug up the spot here. Okay. Like that. And then I'll have to reset the camera. I can just do it here on my lap. Okay, so we want the cracks to light up, but that's it. So we're gonna take silly putty, roll this out, and get my little tool. I'm gonna roll it out here on my bench. And then we're gonna start there to that. Got this really thin. Come in here and do this. Go lady in these cracks. And I'm not sure we want this part to light up. I don't know. I wouldn't think so because that's... We'll see. We'll see what I do. This Kraken's right here.
Do you want ranch for your carrots or you just eat them regular?
So just like that. So I'm gonna go through and do this, and then we'll go throw some primer on it. This will take a few minutes to do this. Took a while, but I got the cracks all masked off with silly putty. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to record it. I'm going to go in the spray booth, and I'm going to spray some black rattle can primer on this, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so while that I just sprayed the bases in some black primer. It's going to take it a while to dry because I put it on pretty heavy. So while that dries, we're going to work on these eyes a little bit more. And hopefully I don't screw them up. So I got a little black, again, acrylic here. I got a really small brush. And we're going to try to paint. Hold on, I'm going to get my Optivisor. Try to paint a black circle around these eyes. Let's see how this goes. So I got a, what size brush is this? 000. Beside yours. It's looking pretty good. Yeah, it's not bad. Not bad for a pole lock. You can see that. Hopefully my optimizer isn't in there while I'm doing it, but
Hey Owen, we have an early bedtime,
alright. It's looking pretty good.
so get in the shower. We'll do it right now, there, Kate.
Just gonna clean it up a little bit. I'm not worried about the top edge because that's gonna get fixed when I do the water line.
Oh, wait, no. It is bedtime today.
Okay, looks pretty good. I'm gonna do the other side off camera because I need to flip them upside down. Alright, so I got black around the eyes. It looks pretty good. Let that dry for a minute, and I'm gonna seal this again. And then we're gonna do the water line. And then we're gonna add some redness to the corners, and then the eye should be done. So I'm gonna let this dry for a little bit and we'll seal it. Then I'll come back. So I got that sealed again. Then we're gonna go and I'm gonna clean up these eyes a little bit. I got some really dark green mixed up over here. Maybe a little too dark. Got some more green to it. Then do the water lines to clean up the white edge on the eyelid. I got some over here in my palette mixed up. Just add some black and green. I got my lining brush again. Let's see if I can do this on camera because it has to get the right angle. So the trick of this is making sure you got the right consistency with your paint. You don't want it too runny, but you want it thick enough. It's going to do what you want it to do. I'm going to take my optimizer off. I can't see with it. There's the top lid. Not sure if that's on camera or not. And I'm gonna do the bottom lid. Try to get this on camera. It's hard though, 'cause I have to be able to maneuver. Welcome to the Morosic house, where we're constantly yelling at our kids nonstop. Okay, so there we go. So that wasn't on camera, but so now I got so there you go. So I'm gonna do it to the other eye and I'll be back. Alright, so the last step I'm gonna do, well not the last step, but the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add a little red to the eyes. I'm just doing that with some pigment. I've got some kind of burnt rust color red here for the pigments. I'm gonna just add it to the red, to the eyes a little bit in the corners and around the bottom, just so it looks like it looks a little angry. It's pretty simple. I've already sealed these. I'm just going there and dab it in. Like this. Just dab it in. Just like that. And then I'm going to clean up the little bottom eyelid here with a slightly damp Q-tip, and then I'm gonna seal those again one more time, and then I'll gloss over them, and then this should be done. Looking pretty good, I think. I'm actually gonna take a little bit off, I think. Gonna take a little bit off here. Some with a white. Here we go. That's better. Here we go. Alright, this looks pretty good. Oops. A little too aggressive there, down there. So I picked up some of these pan pastels based on the recommendation of Anya Chetania. And I tell you what, they're amazing. Way better than the little chalk pastels I was using. So I'll be definitely getting some more of these in different colors. The pigment's much more saturated. And they don't disappear when you seal them. Even the big ammo ones, once you seal them, they kind of disappear and you have to do it a couple times. Like on the toenails, I had to do it twice because after I sealed it, they kind of went away a little bit. Alright, I think that looks pretty good. So I'm going to go seal those just with some matte coat. And then once that matte coat dries, I'm going to gloss them over and then the eyes will be done. Okay, eyes are done, and I think they look pretty good. Pretty happy with that. So now we're gonna move on to the mouth. And what I'm gonna do there is the tongue was painted a long time ago and it's got some silly putty deep down in there. Now I'm gonna silly putty around the lips. I'm gonna spray the teeth. So I thought I was gonna get to the base tonight, but I put a lot of that primer on, so I'm gonna let that dry probably overnight. So if I can get Hulk's portrait done tonight, then he's pretty good. So I'm gonna silly putty off his mouth here. I'm gonna turn down this TV a little bit. Usually I hand paint teeth, but I'm gonna try to spraying this. Because the way this is sculpted, they put the teeth in first. Kind of wish they would have let the teeth out and let me put them in after painting them, but they didn't. So now I get to do it this way. I think you get the idea. I'm going to go ahead and just do this around the whole face or the whole mouth, and then I'll come back when I'm ready to spray. Alright, so I got this masked off pretty good, and I'm just going to keep it close because I don't want to have to mask off the whole thing. So I got my airbrush first as Mr. GarageKits.us Natural Bone, and this is kind of a warm tone. Down in the gums. The gums are gonna be tricky to get to. So I'm starting off with this color because I don't want bright white. I'm just gonna hit it with some. After this, gonna hit it with some semi-transparent bone white. Just to whiten them up a little bit. Time to turn it different angles to get to them. Sorry, I'm not in camera. I'm trying to Get everywhere. Alright, let's see if I got it all covered up. Alright, let's see what we got. Alright, that looks pretty good. Looks like I got them covered up pretty well. Okay. Now, I don't want them quite that tan. I'm going to empty out my airbrush and put a little semi-transparent white over them. I got some Garage Kits at US semi-transparent bone white. Yeah. All right, so. Alright, so we're just going to kind of mist this over it. Start brightening it up a little bit. Just like that. A little light. That's probably about it. Just to brighten them up just a hair. Alright. So that looks pretty good. So now the question is, how am I going to tackle the gums? I probably need to take the silly putty off. So I can get in there. That's all right. Just a little tour here. I just gotta pick this silly putty out. That's the hard part sometimes, to get the silly putty out. There we go. All right. Now for the gums, I don't want them like pink. I got a little touch up there on the lip I gotta do. That should get painted over. A little touch up there. I gotta do too. All right, so now I probably need to seal these, and then we'll worry about the gums, which I have to go in there and just really gingerly hand paint them with a tone. And then we'll go from there. So I probably won't show the hand painting these on camera because, again, I've got to be able to move this guy around stuff. But there's the teeth. We're going to go seal them. And then I'll do the gums. That's all I got to say. Okay, so I got the gums and teeth done, and I really like them. So I used oils, which I've never done before, but my buddy Floyd was here last time, and he kind of gave me some pointers. And to be honest, it's really super easy. You basically put them on, and then the great thing about them is I just put a little mineral spirits on my brush, and I can keep working them and kind of keep getting the effect I want. But I'm pretty happy with the way these look. So these need to dry a little bit. But he's got some nice dirty teeth, dirty gums. And then I'm going to seal these. And then, but see, I can go reactivate the oils as many times as I want, which is great. And got them down behind the teeth too. Don't know if you can see that. So it's all dirty down underneath it, behind the teeth and the gums. I'd use a combination of like a shadow brown and a rust color to kind of get a kind of brownish looking gum looking thing. I think it looks pretty good. So like I see a little, if I want to clean it up a little bit, I could just get a little mineral spirits on my brush and go in there and just kind of clean it up a little bit. Like that, tighten it up. So basically I painted the gums. I wasn't real careful about it, and I just took some mineral spirits on this flat brush and just kind of started blending in and kind of dragging up like this, and I kind of get that bone look to them. You know, kind of look that your teeth have, kind of texture. So, pretty happy with how this looks. And just keep finding little things I can improve on, but I think it's pretty good. So this brush has a very little mineral spirits on it, real light, and I just kind of drag it up. And the bristles give me the look of teeth. Pretty cool. So I'm just going to go and continue tightening this up, and then I'll seal them. Okay, so now I got the teeth and gums sealed. Now I want to get the lips done a little bit. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use my pastels again. And I've got this kind of rust color, this kind of color, and black. What I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of mix these together a little bit. And I'm just going to, I'm going to blend, kind of get, I don't want to paint them all one color. I want to kind of transition from the gums to the green. So I'm going to start with this kind of tannish, whatever color this is, right on the inside, like this. So make it really easy for me to transition from the inside of the mouth to the gum to the green of the lip. I can just take that and bring it out, and I'm going to grab some of this black and go right down the very, very crevice. Way down deep in there, create a shadow. And then we'll add some of this kind of rust color to it a little bit. And then I'm gonna go back with that middle tone, kind of blend it in, I think. This color right here will hopefully give it a little flesh look. I'll do this to the bottom, then I'll do the top lip off camera. Just put a little black over it to tone it down a little bit. Maybe a little too far. Just trying to get some black way back in the corner there. So that's kind of it. So between these three tones, I should kind of get a fleshy look to them. That's looking pretty good. Yeah, so it looks pretty good. So I'm going to do it to the top lip and we'll seal it, and then hopefully that will be it for the portrait. Got one little touch up right there I got to do. You can see I nicked it. So I'm going to do the top lip and come back. Okie dokie. So finished that pastel work and I went ahead and gloss coat, took the silly putty off the tongue. It's really hard to see, it's really dark down there. And I gloss coated the teeth and a little bit of the lips, and I think that looks pretty good. I'm happy with that. So unless Marcus wants me to do something with the hair, which I'm not sure because he's asleep. I'll get a message in the morning. I'm really happy with this portrait. Love the eyes. I think they look really good. He looks mean, pissed off. Love the teeth. I love the transition in the gums to the lips. So I'm real happy with this. So I'm going to call this work in progress done. And then the last one will be, we'll work on the base and getting Stan finished up. Got to do Stan's portrait and then the base, and then this project's wrapped up. So I was hoping to get a little more done this weekend, but my son had a soccer tournament and with just a bunch of other stuff going on, but pretty good progress today. I did all this work today, so pretty good. As always, thanks for watching. This is Matt Mrozik. We'll catch you guys next time. Bye.